Hey everyone! Something I recently wondered when watching Brave is why the witch's curse turns people into bears. I mean, why a bear? Why not a different animal? One much cooler, like this lounging platypus. But all kidding aside, it really is an interesting question, as we never do find out many of the details of the curse. So today, I get to the bottom of why the witch's spell turns you into a bear. Ready for a theory? Hey again, just a heads up before we get any further, major spoilers for the movie Brave. So I've been planning a theory on this Pixar movie for quite some time now, about 2 months, but never really got around to doing it. I watched the movie a couple times this summer, and I guess I just didn't really find the right inspiration for a theory. Until last week, when I was looking through the Brave wiki and had a thought. Why is it that the fourth prince, Elinor, and the triplets were all turned into bears? We see the first example of this through the fourth prince, who goes to the witch to gain the strength of 10 men, and plans to take over the land by himself. The witch gives him a spell that will change his fate, and the prince becomes a bear. Sometime later on, a girl named Merida wishes to change her fate and her mother, and the will-o'-the-wisps lead her to the witch's cottage. She receives the spell in the form of a small cake, and feeds it to her mother later that day. And instantly, the mother becomes a bear. The cake is also consumed by Merida's 3 little brothers, who become 3 cubs later in the day. So I get that in order to learn their lesson, the witch transforms people into animals, but why a bear? We could say that it was just for Merida's mother, if it weren't for the fourth prince, who becomes Merida. So in order to understand why a bear, we first have to understand the spell itself. The spell is designed by the witch, and is simply intended to change the fate of whoever it's placed upon. In the situation of the fourth prince, the spell wasn't broken until Merida died, and he lived out the rest of his life as a bear. The prince was unable to break the charm because he never mended the bond between him and his brothers, which would have been the equivalent of Merida making up with her mother. And in Merida's case, the spell teaches her a lesson, as she realizes that she took her mother for granted, and after breaking the spell, Merida is relieved to have her back. So if the witch's intent is to teach people to be careful what they wish for, the spell is designed to turn someone's life into a much worse scenario than it was before, which is why it turns a human into a wild animal. But now that we've discussed all of this, why a bear? And the answer is as simple as, because a bear is actually the perfect foundation for the witch's spell. You see, the spell gives you a couple days time to reverse it, and Elinor doesn't truly think like a bear in that time. This most likely happened to Merida as well, but because he wasn't able to break the spell in the allotted time, he stayed and acted as a bear forever. Notice how Elinor is still communicating in a friendly way with Merida during the time she was a bear.
Breakfast? Oh, wait. A princess should not have weapons, in your opinion. There you go.
On the other hand, we see Merida being completely out to kill during his time as one. It's the difference between the unconcluded spell and the finalized one, which makes a bear the perfect candidate for the spell. Despite seeming relatively intimidating, the bear, especially black bears, are actually not that harmful. Attacks on humans are extremely rare, and in those few cases, it's usually out of utter fear for themselves or their family. Bears are also very similar to humans in a lot of ways. They're very smart, can see in color, and get more agitated when hungry, and more relaxed when full. And this is perfect for the spell for many reasons. Remember, the charm is designed to make the user regret their decision, and to want to go back to who they were before, or in Merida's case, who her mother was before. Being changed into a bear allows for the main human senses to still be there until the spell is finalized. It makes Merida miss her mother so much because she sees glimpses of who she was before, rather than seeing a death-causing monster. It makes her believe that she can get her mother back, even when she looks so inhuman. And because bears are mainly perceived as dangerous creatures, that causes everyone else, including her own husband, to be frightened of Elinor as a bear. And something else I noticed when watching was that after Merida leaves the witch's cottage, the witch immediately remembers that she should have told her how to break the spell. It's quite odd, considering the spell is meant to change the fate of your whole life. Why would you want to break the spell in just a couple days' time if it truly was what you wanted? Exactly. The witch already knew that Merida would want to reverse the spell, proving that the spell is just meant for teaching a lesson. But there's another part to this too. I mentioned earlier that bears, especially black ones, rarely attack, so then why does Mor'du cause so much destruction and aim to kill? Well, when scrolling through the Pixar wiki for just about the umpteenth time, I came across something surprising. One of Brave's production designers, Steve Pilcher, called Mor'du not just an ordinary bear, but a demon bear. And this solves everything. Why Mor'du acts so sadistic and becomes a killing machine when he's just a black bear, and black bears rarely ever attack. Why Elinor slowly becomes more and more vicious during her time as a bear. It's her soul becoming more and more demonic. I'm thinking about it like this. When you first take the witch's spell, it simply turns you into a bear. You have a couple days to reverse the spell by breaking the charm, and in that time, your soul slowly becomes more and more demonic. And if you don't succeed in breaking the spell in that time, you become a demon bear forever, or at least until you're killed. And once that happens, your soul is released from its trapped demonic form, and you become a member of the Will-o'-the-Wisps, just like we see happen to the fourth prince. And that's why the witch's spell turns humans into bears. I have to say that Brave isn't an easy movie to theorize on. It's actually one of the most confusing movies to study, partly because there are two different storylines, Merida and her mother, and the Wisps and the fourth prince. Hope you enjoyed this theory, and make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Also, make sure you vote on what movie I should cover next by clicking the card in the top right corner of your screen. So I'll see you next week, probably with a Harry Potter theory about the Triwizard Tournament. See you guys later.